From the Synergetic Press archive, Johnny Dolphin reads from his poetry book Wild at the Rancho Vista Artist Community in Oracle, Arizona, 1992.
We have this great tape of these guys trying to cheat us out of all the money. Hey, you want to play with one?
You got two?
Yeah.
No, I don't.
Oh, did you see that picture?
That is so great.
Yeah. Yeah.
You cosplay that.
It is. Yeah, it's one of those.
Did you get to choose?
Sure.
But he plays for me. He's my accompanist.
Oh yeah, what do you play, piano or?
Yeah.
And organ.
Why you might not?
Not okay, because it's just feels so hot. You don't even.
Well, I've been doing, I did their grief group, and I've been a participant in the grief group.
Well, he's taking a picture of her.
Power of the Bell.
I want to thank everybody for coming out this afternoon. Johnny Dolphin's.
The tusk javelina, stalwart, silent, looms almost invisible, shaded from the moonlight beneath the abundant mesquite next to the pack rat mansion. I fall for the girl who can't be handled, the boy who runs away from being calf-roped and cut into shape, the woman who glides naked without a companion, happy in her own skin throughout a hidden night, the man who will quit his power, cheerfully walk a lonely path rather than break his contact. I contemplate the tree root overturning the sidewalk, breaking up the pavement, eating the jutting rock, destroying our kitchen drainage. I hasten to see the blue crane seizing without a thought my favorite catfish lurking in our scenic pond, then wing away without a glance. The coyote always on the alert, the owl ready to swoop, the artist refusing to produce without insight, passion, and technique, the scientist who won't publish without something to say and the necessity to say it, the manager who can watch without getting on people's backs, take a break and laugh, go broke or make $1 million, and never lose his touch. The adventurer who can sit in the shade and stay out of dusty glory, make his moves at the crack of dawn, and disappear at the right time and place. The mystic who can strike camp like a nomad, or by himself like a troupe of actors strike his set, move to new iconographies and always contemporary performances. The philosopher who rezooms and presumes, never assumes, interrogates himself more harshly than the cosmos, and far more harshly than others. Throws his latest self away when he's finished with it as garbage for intellectual compost. The universe, scattered in space, lost in time, daringly manifest, biting eternities behind event horizons, point boundaries past envisionable frontiers. The coruscating spine that reveals nothing in movement. The solar plexus sending out hormonal signals for ecstasy to remotest capillary and cell. Sensation amplified, intensified, unified, that apprehends every new phenomena without reaching in any direction, the remotest intimation of a limit. The material brain in electronic symbiosis with energetic mind to refine, ever more refined transforms. Soul upon soul, some so informally ethereal as to be perhaps capable of cosmic immortality, but nonetheless also abandoned after being experienced, because I'm mad with the love of unknowable perfume, the ever-creating, ever-destroying, ever-living wild. My lean Sioux buddy Eddie said to me one evening while we sat around an ironwood fire wedged into a small stand of honey mesquite, searing steaks wrapped with bacon, savoring the cold desert on our backs. I came back to my cabin, opened the door, and saw this wildcat staring at me. I shot him between the eyes. He went rigid, didn't fall for a long time. He glared at me, his four legs stiff, holding him up, although he couldn't move. He tried to kill me with his eyes. Suddenly he fell like a log, completely. That's what I call wild. The biggest, silent, camouflaged, ruthlessly cunning, most charming predators hang out in the library, ready to pounce on prey and delicious flesh to reincarnate their motionless attention. Beyond good and evil, I zoomed down the open road, past the possessed and their snake-like claws, feast at the symposium's banquet. Later in cities of the red night, I hear naked lunches slurped. The process creates a magic tempest. The origin of species throws sinister light on war and peace, and Men Without Women's white fang illuminates life on the Mississippi. I slowly somersault backwards over the Book of the Dead into metamorphoses of You Can't Go Home Again until the escaped cock heats up the Tropic of Cancer into fugues of four quartets. Revelations of Genesis burn the tree of the Kabbalah, and the journey to the north ends in 100 years of solitude, making love in the time of cholera, while capital transforms the wealth of nations into patterns of culture and grapes of wrath. Spaceship Earth orbits the empire of the sun. Up from the ape confronts information theory. The genetic code engages in research on lost times. Flowers of evil float away traces of bygone biospheres, and the search for extraterrestrial intelligence runs on a reef in the heart of darkness, where she contemplates alchemy in the periodic table. The Inspector General searches the cherry orchard for the time when we dead awaken. Man and Superman and armies of the night alternate between Vanity Fair and Secrets of the Great Pyramid. Dizzy under the blows of the critique of pure reason, the world as will and idea fuses to the plumed serpent, until all and everything, the jewel of Arbor Valley, becomes real from meetings with remarkable men, and the search for miraculous hears and obeys the call of the wild. In the blackest night, thunder, lightning, mountains, quickly into the bosque of mesquite. The only shrub on windy slopes, mesquite rivals oak, rooted in wide arroyo's watery sands. Safe in that oasis forest, I watched the lightning reveal the sonora, the original sound and light show. The barbed cholla, iconic opuntia, ever-ready cat's claw. Ears open for flash flood, hanging loose close to the escape path up the arroyo's bank. The air turns sweet from ions reversing charge. Wind gusts over the cooling sand. Sharp rain arrives, a lover's fingernails. I chew a strip of jerky, stick my tongue out, catch a drink, and the twigs drip. A crystal storing inner lightning. In the rainforest, life lives so abundantly on top, bathing in sunshine, gulping rain in bromeliad containers, that it darkens the ground, where living columns supporting buttressed architecture, co-evolved gliding gargoyle sculptures. The rainforest transpires daily moisture straight up on the rising air until meeting the roof of its roof, cold stratosphere, rain forms again, falls straight down, bringing nitrogen with its lightning, culling out old trees with surgical strikes. The rainforest learned to live rich off poverty, off red leach soil empty of fertile mineral, iron and aluminum heavy clays, all that's left, by making tough, large leaves, dropping them in dainty heaps on the barren clay, gossamer roots cycling them back up the trunks, managing 2 million square miles of climate. Branches of the great bowls work vast sciences of chemical invention to support this autarkic economy. Foods, dyes, poisons, cures, mind cosmoses, taste delights, eye wonders. The rainforest defends itself with fevers, nightmares, assassinations, and disorienting highs from invaders carrying madness, greed, and war. But most of all, by a beauty that makes us stop, take oath to protect her. The ocean and biosphere, too, goes wild. The anemone slowly shifts location until it catches the most easily of what it needs. Day after day, I watch it in the back reef, sometimes tentacles resting within itself, sometimes stretched out in full extension, oscillating. The parrotfish grows noticeably bigger by the week. The ones weighing more than a pound eat too much. They'll have to be hunted out. The thin orange sponges on the forereef expand their area. The conchs determinedly mow through the algae, headed toward the thickest growth. The water becomes clearer. The nitrate fluctuates to around 10 ppb, the nitrite to 5 ppb. The seagrass waves in bottom reaches of the tide the way prairie grass does in wind, but with slower periods. The pH begins to hover at 8, buffered by carbonate. Powerful sunlight drives through the water, forming swaying columns, translucent portals of energy disappearing into green increase. The brain coral hefts its slow, sure growth. Sea urchins gleam by the purple fan corals. Angelfish dive down a small oxygen-rich cell to hang out for the tooth cleaner's arrival. Microbiota and snails increase by scads. The crab hunts decisively that which it was bred and selected to find. The ocean remains invisible. Its visible glories live and die. Its physico-chemical functions register repeatable numbers. After a year's observations, I begin to swim in its shadow. Sound bites from a presidential campaign. The farmers may be blown away, but our flag factories make more money than ever. Our girls may be raped, but they can bear their children for the sterile rich to select to stick the names on so they can will their money to their fake immortality. The unselected ones can swell the struggling population to keep the wages down. Our cities may have exploded into a zoning catatonia, but we'll drop the speculation tax to 15% and increase the incentive to sell America out at 100% profit. Everybody on drugs will be kicked out of athletics, the Army, the Navy, the schools, unless, of course, they're members of the CIA experimenting with a friendly dictator. And you must pledge allegiance to fakery and boredom. And never question me in public. And why should you ever ask a question? You never had it so good. You never had it better. Nobody ever had it better. This is all you can expect. And besides, if you want anything else at all, you must be a liberal, liberal, liberal. Erase the shame, Voltaire. The hate-filled faces of fundamentalist grunts mobbing and jeering in their fanatic hunts. The young brave girls with pregnant deserted flanks have to run the gauntlet to fight for their chance. Love your enemies because they not only remorselessly attack or expose to attack any of your weak points, so that you not only can but must change them, but they lie and make up new faults that do not yet even exist, but could without vigilance, and so allow you to change your future for the better. All of the above, of course, assumes that you can survive their calculated onslaughts. When attacked and wounded, the coyote slinks back to his hole, using the principle of least action to lick the spots where he bleeds. Poetry is my hole. I bound out when healed. I recuperate within it when scarred. I disappear in when the baying hounds sniff near. Alone then, anonymous, too invisible to bother, in the vaster than we can ever dream formless, from which forms emerge in pulses, dazzling, to direct astonishing existential displays, concatenating objects, practical and symbolic, then leave the stage to rest in the magic green room of potentiality. Already, tonguing word spittle into essence cuts, my mind blood flows clotted and staunched. My lips curl in loose coyote grin. Once more, I prow zigzag the scudding moon, effortlessly missing prickly pear and jumping cholla, invisible to the hunters looking for my head. The coyotes bounced their subtle a cappella jazz off the cactus-strewn cliff. In the moon-filled night, Laser and I bounded after them, down the steep slope, through the stickly thorned clod, without getting a scratch, silently gliding in on their voice trail, leading us to the white-sanded arroyo and the blue grama grass bank, under the heat and drought-curved mesquite, where they had howled in combo moments before. We occupied their ancient space, cross-legged, waving our oncoming companions to sit in a circle, eyes reflecting the reflected fires in the sky, woofing it all in, a small pack on the loose, who had found the spot where action flickered and flared. No one escapes, but some do it better. An adventurer without expeditions, an artist without performances, a scientist without experiments, a philosopher without a critique, a manager without a project. The mystic wanders a road without a road. At night, the gravel path serves for sleeping, dry bread for steak, its crust for chocolate. Solitude becomes intenser than high politics. Starlight more penetrating than poetry. Death, it's clear, is the only game in town, but timing calls all the shots. To reconstitute the worlds from nothing, again, each time freshly new. That's the secret to escape the darkest prison, the dreariest chore, the dullest job, the boringest thought, the dumbest emotion, the most wearied sensation, the most authoritarian tradition, the most unfeeling logic, the most tyrannical state, the most witch-hunting media, the most repetitious argument, the most dangerous confrontation, the most destructive symbol, the most hypocritical gesture, the most blah language, the most folly-filled ecstasy, the most profitless activities, the most insolent socialite, the most resentful mob, the most pompous professional, the grimmest street scene. Yeah, the one that can do that secret. Wild man. Tell me all the places you've been. I've been to many places. So many. Tell me. But so many places I haven't been. Ulaanbaatar, and grave of Genghis Khan, Angkor Wat, and the stage of the School of Dance, Muli Idris, and Cliff of the Secret Singers, Alamut, and Soma of Transmutation, Mount Kailas, and Spot that is Center, Chang'an, and Elucidation of Ineluctables, the Himalayan Hut and Shaman Spirit Trail, the street called Straight and the way called Crooked, the Palace of Knossos and Bull-Guarded Labyrinth, Mahabalipuram and Origin of Eye, Shanghai and Jade Statue that overturned the mandate of heaven, the caves of Amu Darya and Reed of Ecstasy, Samothrace and Tantra of the Goddess, the Samoyeds and architectures of schizophrenia, Chivor and clairvoyance of its green flyers. You seen every place else? Some places I don't even know about. Does anybody know about them? Perhaps no one knows these places. Where humanity began and how it survived. Where life began and how it arrived. Where worlds intersect and disappearances succeed. Where wisdom first danced and how she strips off. Where language began and chanted the first poem. Where death, sex, and power first stirred their alchemical vat. Where understanding will commence and intelligence navigate with time, space, and life. Cool. Rage is not wild, but a predictably deadly hand grenade of emotion. Screaming is not wild, but a predictably regressing physiological release. Wild is the blue haze of the rainforest emanating its isoprenes to precipitate the rains, the thunderous lightning that restored its nitrogen. Wild is the bleaching coral cutting down its colorful algae to survive the increased heat, gaining the best chance to live till temperature changes. Wild is the cosmic ray hitting the exact point of genetic mutation to put out another candidate who could be elected to a million-year term of office. Wild is the unpredictable, elegantly integrating yet another guise into the matrix of danger. Adventure. Beneath the jutting cliff of Aphrodite, waiting, alert, the mysterious cave open for those whose ships sail craftily in and drop their anchors to rise and fall with the tides, taking time to search out treasures both buried and not yet mined, waiting especially for daring Odysseus's ship. That cave built hygiene and panacea, full of charms, music, and divine dance for one witty enough to leave it timely, but turning into pigs all those who overstay. Odysseus, precisely patient, ruthlessly charming, artistically sly, sweetly reasonable, could survive war, disgrace, love, ocean, and exile, and depart victor from his public appearance. Silent himself, his stories resonate from Homer's lips. He was never caught in any web that either he or other wove. La Rose de Provins, Rose gallica, Rose de Charlemagne, cosmétique, alimentaire, horticole, pharmaceutique, pétale, infusion, d'océan, gargarisme, l'eau de rose carmine collier, Vincamino, la petite péovance, infusion tonique, carmine astringent, in the camp of Filtre d'amour, Acanthus molli, architectural motifs, La Rose de Damas, La Rose de Damas, très odorante, copper and rope handrail. In the beginning was the flesh, and the flesh performed the deed that resounded with the word. And ever since then, man has had to work his way up through the word and in the deed to become flesh and blood again, master of the sixth breath and the sevenfold structure aligned with the macrocosmic flow, engaged in the supreme adventure where all is forever being decided and redecided in stupendous, mysterious, dramatic danger. Libretto for Ornette Coleman. Around the glorious star, 10 planets, thousands of asteroids, millions of species, and all of human history revolve, spiraling that star's cosmic path, attracting reinforcements, light particles, gravitons, carbonaceous solids, who knows what unknowns. Those humans already sending off their first probe beyond that star. The prime creative energy that awakened a receptive planet stashed with water, carbon, and nitrogen, orgasmic with its own volcanoes and uranic heat to build proliferating bodies of life that developed and fed a cosmic mind nibbling terabytes of information. How many worlds danced on the tip of that computer? Johnny and Ornette, reared on opposite sides of the Red River, European, African, but both American, ate the same biscuits, gravy, fried chicken, black-eyed peas, and sweet potatoes. The one heard melodies, the other saw metaphors. They walked grabbing eyeballs down long, straight New York distances, a new curveball thrown at every corner. Ecstatic after naked lunch, a Japanese singer clicked in. That's no accident. No, man, at this place, there are no accidents. In that synchronic attractor, the chaos of their lives made sense. They dropped the fence, ate a Korean plate, drank Puerto Rican coffee, traded glints with an Iroquois, fell into eyes, and laughed at perfume costumes swaying 10 degrees past foreplay. We got to do something together. We're going to do it. Should have done it before. What did you really look for in all your travels? Truth? A woman? Power? I looked for a capital M man. You couldn't see no man. All you could have seen was men. I looked for men who manifested man. Well, talk about it, and I'll make the music. First man I ever met on that. Granddad, big, strong, smart. Everybody else put their head down at prayer. He held knife upright in left hand, fork straight up in right hand, ready, looking straight ahead. I raised my eyes, saw what he saw. All the other heads bowed. My father repeating his prayer as if thoughtful, but same old words. Women's heads silent. The moment ended, Granddad plunged lightning reach, fork into bread, and took straight to his mouth and bite and piled up his plate. At the farm, I threw the cat into the pond. It howled, furious. You throw that cat in? Yes, sir. Look at that pond. His boot lifted my 7-year behind gently as possible, delivered the kick, splash, face first, angry. That's what the cat felt like. The anger disappeared. He had 2 books in simple bedroom, Bible and complete Shakespeare, painting a favorite horse, cartoon of pipe-smoking bulldog, lots of lightning rods in the white 2-story stopped green shingled house out on the prairie. He connected the toilet to the gardens, built a smokehouse for potatoes, onions, and hams, dug a cellar for the canning and cyclones, and squirted the cat's mouth, standing on hind legs 10 feet away, the first stream of milk from his teat of his Jersey cow, and let me shower under the streaming wheat grains, golden, cool, and hard, standing in the combine bin as he drove the thresher down the bumpy fields in dazzling hot blue summer. He had 8 children, all turned out interesting to a boy. Uncle Gus and Uncle Poke, even heroes, and Uncle Frank, a face that drew a map of masculine emotion. Grandma stood 6 feet tall, and his sister, Great Aunt Jenny, weighed 300 pounds, the subtlest cook I ever knew, and that in face of heavy competition from her brother's wife and my aunt and mother. He ran his farms, ran his garage, ran the New Deal in his part of the country, and stayed completely off his back. He ruled by reinforced respect because he could do it, but you could see he never believed a word of its reports, so he never overdid it. He had survived the shooting of his last 2 brothers at his side in one of Texas's great feuds. Tired of killing, he lit out with Kate and Jenny northward the Chisholm Trail, homesteaded the Indian Territory, a Jeffersonian who believed in educated people controlling their own land and livelihood. He never preached. He let you see him doing. He drove to the exact speed formulas of car and road allowed, but he walked on foot the mile to the bank for the annual loan negotiation for seed and fertilizer, and that set the local rate. He died when I turned 8, showed me what a man should be. I didn't know how he did it, so I searched the world to meet other men to learn that secret. It's hard to find, harder to do. Bear in the buckwheat, turkey in the beach. Little boy, big heart, lightning thunder, pounding rain, hot summer chilling flour-buttered mud, water rolling gleaming dark. I don't belong here. I need there. I need a map. I take a long nap. 5 years later, swaying, swinging bridge, pecan trees tall, red flood below, straight-cut banks, nature power, everybody else inside, I am a hide. I don't belong here. I need there. I need a map. I take another nap. Tiptoe my feet 20 feet above thud, topping apple trees. My buddy, lean idiot, I like your singing. My school teacher said it was no good. Hey, come on. Yeah, I do. I sung some more. My heart wasn't sore. I belong here. I go there. I make a map. Now it's a snap. The street skids from its wrinkled face. No mud packs do it any good. There's no beauty to restore, not in its hawking throat, nor in its limp skin of stagger, nor in that reddened eye of law glaring above the paddy wagon. By mustache posters of strip teasers, I retch the bile that chokes me. Get it over with, Park Street, die. But voices bud from weedy men, late at night, cocky with a dime, some free and easy ask for coffee. On cracked lips of building rows, dawn lights, peaceful cigarettes. Hands in pocket, Park Street. I pace by your lame lurch. I sit by dirty cots of cafes, untrained to be a nurse. And pity also cops and preachers, the fists and ignorant fingers that gouge your sores and mine. Washington Square, Chicago, USA. I heard an old man crack jokes, an old musket clicking, pioneer powder gone dead on a box at Bughouse Square, the dean of all those who spoke at Free Speech Square. On my left, an old worker smoldered with ancient glow, remembering Big Bill Roar on yellow, ugly Butte Plateau. On my right, a jeweled girl laughed. They really dare, they really rave here at Washington Square. Prepping for Europe, a busload of tourists gawked. A stupid government lets these damn Reds talk. A young man ascends the box. A Christian proud of Christ, he deplores that the world keeps hunger, hate, and lice. The next loves the freedom here, an orating from his lair to this 100 from the millions, eats on nickels from the square. A old patch of sidewalk, grass and queers, show place of the First Amendment, how you deserve your jeers. A place of old men's voices and young men's shouted choices. Men between have just enough to lose and too little hope for gain to speak belief in public shoes. These speakers feed on Cohen crumbs, sheep zoo, or tourist slummers bums, old workers, dreamers of Zions, cheap zoo for the 100 with taste for more than lions. Plot of legalized rant, hired him against the sky's red ramp. 40 miles of steel find defiant, 3 boxes, 3 voices, a corner lamp. I spit on the dirty sidewalk. I vomit glare on the sooty leaves and talk. When what I love turns furtive crook, I want to kill the regal that's got me shook. Die, you vulgar regal on the hook, you Free Speech Square. Sprinkled absently nowhere with absolutely nothing, slammed on the brakes, crashed through the windshield, somersaulted to enlightenment under the gigantic dual tires of a superhighway truck, and with the hot asphalt soaked up the fernacious sun, winking a red stop, grinning a green go. Mombasa. The white woman with crossed hands decorates the car, her breasts packed carefully, fat oiled fish. Ghosts of mangoes drip orange through creaking fronds, and it shines down the sand to bloody the sea. I drank from 10-shilling love nightly in the roof house rooms. Spume, yes, but the waves recur. I frankly detest this word love, grimed, Hoboken rusted, and run down, ghost town, slattern pattern, leaf skeleton, flotted, flowered and now rotted seed of Provençal, broken off coitus, ecstasy dreams from half yes, one live coal and embers of a black death world. Much better, wordless. You kissed me, lingering, lazy back in the bombed-out ruins of rumors. When your hand encountered the chill barbed wire, you reached for me with the other. You hunkered down and smoked your cigarette. We told each other of the ironic past, where we learned at last to laugh and cry. And then we bounded up, ran down night gravel, irrationally chuckled among the flares, turned in, and woke for show and work. Aphorisms. Life is the creative imagination of the dead. Death is the experience we all know the most about, while claiming we know nothing about it. Investigating the forbidden is irresistible, since we're well aware that the deformed nature of forbidders leads them to unerringly include the best, as well as a few of the obviously worst, in their list of the verboten. Crime is how the market outwits the monopolists. War is the method by which human primates send off the young and strong from the old bull's territory. College education is the method by which human primates beat up the young and strong who stay around the old bull's territory. The young and strong learn by imitation and grow themselves up to treat the next young and strong just the way they were treated. That is, repress them for just as long as possible. Jobs are the cleverest way to trap a higher mammal ever devised. A bibliography proves that one has not been guilty of an independent thought. Poetry conceals the secret by a metaphor and wants to keep the secret a secret, convinced that direct truth is too much for humans and a direct lie too little. Science knows that the more it knows that it does not know. Hence has been the best home since 1700 for genuine mystics. Desire without capacity and skill is the greatest disaster that can strike a man. Satire is the first psychological step above revenge. The people in quotes are the stock and trade of the rhetoricians, and that stock is always marked on sale. A rhetorician can convince a human to do something he never thought about before and will shudder at later. Sickness is the body's meditation on death. Poverty is the major proof of the powers of the magic of money. Experience is what we can take from the universe without a protest. Understanding is what we can digest from experience, but nostalgia will always protest. Belief is the morphine of the emotions. Dogmatic belief is crack for the passions. Gossip is the inflation of psychology. It takes a lot to buy a little insight. Scholars are the real estate brokers of history. Our skin protects us far better than any of our thoughts and attitudes. Who knows where their allegiance lies, from whom they were sent, and to whom they are sending their prepared signals? No one has seriously dreamed of being read 1,000,000 years from now, much less written for such an audience. Yet we know that 1,000,000 years is only a wink in evolutionary time. How can we any longer pay sustained attention to anyone so subjective as not to be writing for a reader also in the next species or two? We know the size and shape of the earth, even the galaxy, but not of our passion, our mood, our philosophy, our sensation, our future. The pettiness of our inner geographers keeps explorers from launching anything larger than rowboats. Suppose the inner geography were as complex and far-reaching as the outer geography. Supposing one's passion were to be explored by a crew with the same thoroughness and energy as a coral reef, one's thought like a biosphere. A real teacher is someone resourceful enough to make new discoveries. A real student is someone resilient enough to let himself be discovered. Friendship is the most exciting gamble, reinforcement or betrayal. Enmity is the most rigorous training, The enemy plans to destroy you through your weaknesses, and the ferocity of his attack makes it impossible for you to cover them up and gives but little time to repair them. Love is war games of the spirit. I dare say only the first sentence of each message. A mastery of at least 2 options on each of at least 12 levels gives one a fighting chance. An argument is the ultimate test of our goodwill toward our own digestion. Silence, laughter, and rhythm are 3 irrefutable expressions. An actor always holds something in reserve. Stalk and study those who hunt you if you can't get out of their ecosystem. Then change your behavior to a species not on their food chain. Migrate or start to hunt the hunter. Magic transformed into money, religion to advertising, science to politics, superstition remains superstition. Sex touches our deepest being. Eros touches the other's deepest being. The Hindu Rasikas of drama insisted that the moods of horror, the odious and the furious, were as important as the marvelous, the transcendent, and the erotic. Only then could the heroic, poignant, and comic grow to their full stature, equal with the mighty primal 6. We are all attacked by time, by space, by energies, by things, by enemies, and by the uncomprehending, who neither know nor feel nor sense what they are doing, as ants are crushed by boots who never sense anything between themselves and the concrete. It therefore behooves us to arm ourselves at many levels and in many ways: stealth, invisibility, mirrors, inebriants, poisons, decisiveness, obfuscations, procrastinations, rhetoric, logic, forethought, intuition, vigilance, shrewdness, quickness, randomness, camouflage, transformations, transfers, breakdowns, negotiations, retreats, redoubts, strategies, tactics, history, alertness, courage and cowardice, truth and lies, sanity and madness, celebration and mourning, laughter and tears. If the shoe fits, wear it, unless you can go barefooted. Courtesy is a tribute one pays to oneself. If generous, one has enough for others as well. No gift is better received. Some pass through the mirror and it becomes a window. Others look back and see a blank surface. They remain in one world, albeit a different one. If you want to lose a finger, lift it to stop someone from heading toward a disaster, glowing with glamour from the derailed sex energy of denial, splittings, and projections. If you want to lose more, lift your hand and arm. If you want to lose your neck, lift your voice to speak. There's no point finding your own voice if you have nothing of your own to say with it. With so many theories of immortality, physical, chemical, genetic, mimetic, remembrance, historic, literary, soul, spiritual, conscious, reincarnational, eternal, anyone really interested in accomplishing the feat would have to master a number of disciplines, each of which could require a lifetime, none of which has ever been proven to work. With so many facts of mortality, body, emotional, intellectual, sensual, sexual, societal, and species, no one has ever worked out the theory of death. No one ever flew until gravitational facts showed that the airplane would always fall toward the center of Earth with a force equal to its mass times 32 feet per second. Then theory could calculate the power and design needed to fly. The many who break their word must not make us underrate keeping our word. Those who break their word we can cease dealing with in any essential way, so their damage ability is limited. Those who do keep their word we can deal with for the years of whatever task we share. As for keeping one's own word, we must deal with ourselves for at least the rest of our lives. And one short story to close, The Dead Indian Mounds. Unafraid, he stared as close to the sun, shinier than tin, as his eyes could bear. Never in his 7 years had the light flecked blue deepened so. It slowly revolved, pricking his eyes with tiny, brilliant needles. Dizzy, exalted, he stumbled just before he could complete an emotion, luring and decisive. He felt charged with daring, with impatient energy. His mother, leading him and his small brother home from their picnic in the woods, seemed intolerably cautious. He bowed his head and galloped past her and around a bend in the path. Peering into shadows intertwined with light, he pretended Indian stealth, cleverly sidestepped dry twigs, crouched low when he rustled a leaf, crept ever closer to an unsuspecting enemy. "Ned, you come back here," his mother cried nasally. His scouting party shattered on thoughts of her thin hardness, her tight mouth, darting eyes, her hands, small freckles scattered between blue upraised veins, gestures instinct with freezing derision, blurred with resentment, suffocated from his joy. He had to escape. "I'm going to take a shortcut," he yelled back. "Now you be careful. You better come on back here." "I'll beat you to the road, Mama." Skulking through the stunted oaks, avoiding ambushes, he soon evaded his mother's reproaching image, and the peculiar fluttering liveliness of the day returned. Seeing the glint of hovering and darting wings, he pursued a butterfly from light to shadow before it escaped. Sand spushed beneath his feet. Gnarled and twisted, the scrub oak, porcupine with twigs, oppressed him with the motionless struggles of their shapes. Only the hot, cricking locust splashed sound into the humid silence of the Oklahoma summer. Suddenly, bursting open in front of him, the air seemed to hum with a golden light. His breath seemed taut as a murmuring stream. Right at his feet, a cliff dropped sheerly down to the valley which he knew held the 3 mounds with dead Indians inside. The trail had nearly disappeared. It wound below the edge of the cliff, only a foot in width, but still he wanted to follow it like a pioneer, even though the rock looked fractured and loose. This time, in this vibrant haze of air that hung over the valley, he would find the rest of that emotion he had come so close to finishing while staring into the blue at the edge of the sun. Putting his back to the cliff, he edged rapidly sideways 100 feet before coming to a gap. It was about 4 feet across the gap, and there was a bush growing out of the rocks that he could swing across on, but still he felt a thrill of fear. He shouldn't have come so far by himself. He wanted to go back. He could say, "Mama, the trail ended," but he imagined her scornful eyes. She would know he was lying. He could not stand up to her with a lie. She would find out. He would have to stand in front of her, eyes down, neck burning, telling all that he was ashamed of. Overborne, desperate with intensity that had steadily built up inside him, he grabbed hold of the bush and swung himself over the gap almost before he knew what he was doing. He was breathing hard and still holding with one hand to the bush, but he took his time to enjoy his new view and self-prestige. For the first time, he looked straight down to the bottom of the valley, green, thick, and lush with grass that shared the same mysterious liveliness that seemed to fill the air and oaks. And just to this were the 3 Indian mounds to the right, their grass greener, thicker, soft, more inviting. Yes, just as he had felt drawn up into a slowly revolving vertex of blue, now he felt drawn down upon those mounds. The blood in his arm clutching the bush constricted with faintness, yet never had he breathed such sweet and murmuring air, seen grass so green and soft. And a thought came glinting out of the shadows like the butterfly he had chased. Surely he would not be harmed if he jumped. Was this the emotion he had sought all that lively, sun-flecked day when he had but to look at an object to feel its very rhythms? The temptation murmured more hazily golden than the air, but his heart caved away and he heard himself panting. How terrible the world must be if a jump to such green grass killed him. The harsh cawing of a crow startled him. He looked upward at the bird blackly flapping its way across the valley. He knew the crow was a warning. Still he wanted to jump. The thought of possible death, fearful as it was, made the desire seem more tender and attractive than before. The crow cawed harshly in his memory. He would be killed. And his certainty grew, his faith grew, and his disgust. Could not Peter have walked on water if he had perfect faith? Nonetheless, he could not move, staring down, entranced by the grass below, now seeing the same light flecks in it that had been in the blue. Something happened, he cried to himself. Something happened. He was no longer master of himself. The forces that made him move were annihilating his mind. Trembling uncontrollably, his knees crumpled. Gratefully, he made himself edge back against the rock, sweat greasy on his forehead, his heart empty with fear. The green softness below now seemed to beckon him in shameless evil. You will never know unless you jump and find out. You are too much of a coward ever to know. Jump and find out. He saw no more. Thankfully, he felt himself submerged in a preserving panic. His hands wetly clawed at the bush, and he swung himself once more over the gap, thudding against the rocky ledge. Cut and bloody, he crawled all the way to the top in terror, gasping for breath in the upper part of his lungs, his stomach flattened against his spine. Reaching the top, he gathered his strength and ran and fell and ran, careless of stinging twigs, seeing nothing but shadowy sand alternating with light gold sand. Steam seemed to explode from a valve. Rattler, he thought. A cottontail started up like a shotgun blast at his feet. Mama, mama, his fright wrenched loose from deep down as her sharp face and thin mouth came into focus, her broad and substantial skirt. I could have killed myself. I almost killed myself. I wanted to jump and find out. His arms tightened humbly around her legs. Suddenly remembering her old derision, he looked up at her through the burn of his tears, but no scorn was in her eyes. She seemed puzzled, even fearful herself, though her hand was patting his shoulder steadily, intensely, like the time he cut his foot so badly. She did not understand. Trudging on home ahead of his mother and little brother, he hung his head, looking minutely and unseeing at the small rocks in the path. From where came this teeter of life and death? The mounds full of the long-dead Indians grew tumultuous with riddles, and very calm now, recollecting every detail of his journey, he became almost frightened of himself.